For those of you who don't know me, Rachel Barber, I'm the Deputy Chief Constable of Nottinghamshire Police. Been with the force about 2.5 years now. Really impressed around Nottinghamshire, the energy, the commitment for things to get done and to be done together. I just want to start by just a few congratulations, just because that might get me a little bit of positive for next year. So to Sue, I understand that very recently you've been awarded the Nottinghamshire County Council Chairman's Community Heroes Award. So well done, and congratulations. And because he's always in our stations, John Leonard, one of the trustees, has actually just been awarded one of our police volunteer awards for his service. So again, I just wish sometimes some of our paid employees would put so much effort in. But John, thank you. Really welcome and appreciate your support. So you've heard quite a bit today around the need finding common ground. It is a frustration, having been a police officer for nearly 31 years. I have to say that I joined as a child. Is that actually we can't do this on our own. And actually, when you get the police involved, it's my view, it's probably too late. So we are there, though, to facilitate, help and reassure. And so we need to harness and help. And we're very good at organising. Usually too much often, and do things and get everybody annoyed because we've gone in and bulldozed through. So a lot of learning, certainly in the 31 years I've been in the service, around it's not about us, it's about everybody. And it's about those people who live on those streets, in those areas, and actually the power and the strength that you have against those few individuals that cause problems for the majority. So Nick's talk this morning was really interesting. I'm going to catch up with him and see if I can pinch some ideas about how we can use that in Nottinghamshire. Sajid I know very well, and the work of Nottingham citizens is really, really effective here. And he's shown how that power of just getting people into a room and talking is the start of something really good. So, bit of a challenge around policing over the last few years around money, and the same for other agencies that are there to keep you safe and help you to keep each other safe in your communities. That's really disappointing, because that's seen sort of a retrenching back of services, and certainly neighbourhood policing has been one of those services that has been severely affected across the country. And I know not perhaps so severely here, but it has had issues about the service that we provide. I was just saying to Saj, it's really interesting to listen to Mike's talk around Humber Talk, because my original service was in South Yorkshire, and I remember being a chief inspector in charge of neighbourhoods, and we did that surveying. It was on paper in those days because it was a bit of a while ago. So this is the next development, and we'll obviously be working with Mike to see how we can translate that into what we need in Nottinghamshire. So future for us then, neighbourhood policing, really committed to reinvesting, reinvigorating, thanks to Paddy and his support in terms of funding. And we're looking 33 extra neighbourhood officers over this next year into our establishment to help support and develop the neighbourhood policing offer that we can give. We've obviously reviewing our PCSOs and actually getting them back to what they should be doing. Actually being out there and being visible. Because interesting, Mike uses the term officer on the Humber Talk. You'll probably notice it was our police community support officers and their police community support officers. And that for me is our basic offer around being out there, being visible in the communities, supplemented by our beat managers, so our police officers, and working as a team with other partners. We're just going through a revamp of our engagement, and certainly over the next sort of couple of months, we'll start to see, and should hopefully start to see, and if not, you need to tell me, because it means my staff aren't doing what they need to do, around how we engage with local communities, build the profiles of the communities, and you can be involved in that, in letting us know what it's like and how it feels for you to live where you are. We're also looking at how we engage. So hopefully you should see for every neighbourhood area, the neighbourhood inspector should be producing a neighbourhood blog on a regular basis to tell you what's happening, what we're doing, and how you can get involved. But we're also going to look at how we expand that. I find it really interesting about knocking on doors, because we used to do that and people aren't in. And I think what Mike was talking about, being able to tell people we did come to your address but you weren't there. I did like the policeman's knock. We have policewomen's knocks as well. We knock even louder than the men do. But actually about making sure that when we're there, we maximise people seeing us. But I also think we need to manage people's expectations, because you might not always need to see a police officer or a police community support officer, but we want to be there when you need us there. But we also want you have an opportunity to actually feed into actually what we're doing, even if you don't see us, and get that feedback, because that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, and where we've probably failed in the past, is letting you know what we're doing and why. So, bit of development as well, and I'd be quite interested around the Humber talk, around not just about police. So we've got quite a lot of work going on with our colleagues in fire and rescue around how we do things together. There'll be people going out to visit people for other things. So I know fire and rescue do the safety checks in houses. The local authority will be visiting around other social visits that they need to do. We need to expand that so that we're catching people. It's not always a police officer, but we still capture the information, and that feeds into the profile and what we do in your area. I'm going to sort of say an apology, because Neighbourhood Alert is one of those banes of everybody's life. It's an excellent system, but we don't use it as well as we should do, and that's featuring very much in our plans for the future about how we use what is a really good tool, and we use it more effectively than perhaps we have. Mike alluded in his presentation around we're quite low down on the number of users. We want to improve that, and it may be something like the lines of Humber Talk, maybe our opportunity to do that, but it'll only get used if we use it and people get feedback and see something as a result of what they put in. I will say we do have some really good results on Neighbourhood Alert, so it's not all bad news. So recently we were struggling around role players for our new recruits to practice on before we put them out in the real world, and we were going to have to cancel some of the training until we put something out on Neighbourhood Alert and got 260 people volunteering to come and help us, and so the course could go ahead. So we know it's effective. We just need to make sure that with you we work to make sure it's a tool that helps us develop and helps us support you in your neighbourhoods. So I suppose the challenge for us going forward is knowing who's out there. So Neighbourhood Watch is one of those community initiatives that's out there, but we know that people are using Facebook pages, WhatsApp, on streets. For those of you who don't know, and I keep having to ask my kids, it's all the social media stuff, is how do we harness that, and is there opportunities for Notts Watch with the police and other agencies to get those into the umbrella of Notts Watch and provide some support and help. And I think the one big challenge we always have is social media. It's a really positive tool, but it also has some limitations in terms of people's expectations. Responses are expected almost immediately, regardless of the time of day, and that's where some of the frustrations can kick in. So for me, still committed, always am. That's why I turn up every year, Sue. So it's just making sure that the experience for people in neighbourhoods is positive. It's also about managing expectations, making sure that we cover the whole community and not just those people who have been in when we call, because other people work in different ways, different communities have different ways of communicating amongst each other, but with us. So it's how we bring that all together. But hopefully this time next year, you know, it's a different story, and it's building on the strong foundations that I think are present in Nottinghamshire, to make sure that all that good energy is actually really harnessed towards the common good. So I'm sure I'll get loads of questions on the panel later, so I'll end there. Thank you.